Happy Wednesday. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another watch list video. I hope you all have been super patient, with this recent action the last like month, right? You had a monster washout today and a lot of names, a lot of stuff that's shown relative strength, is now kind of showing relative weakness. So if you stayed patient, all day today, there could possibly have been like maybe one name that you were eyeing, that you could have taken a stab on. I personally just went with AMD, but I still think that doing absolutely nothing is, you're going to be outperforming those that are, trying their hardest to catch the lows on anything or just even trade in general. Right now is just a good time to do absolutely nothing. But I did take AMD. You come right into the support gap, undercut and rally. I was watching this one all day, super heavy. Rest of the market was super heavy. It started to bounce. A lot of stuff started to bounce with it, right? SanDisk, the overall market, right? You look at the QQQ, and everything was starting to slowly come off its lows. So I waited. I watched AMD, and then I took a 5% position in AMD, and that's about it for me, right? It's above its 1020, it's above its 50, it's above its 200, right? It's definitely been holding up. The base has been, in my opinion, it's been really shitty. So I've been waiting for a pullback into the support gap area or just a pullback in general. Haven't wanted to buy like strength on this name. If you're trying to buy this thing as it's breaking out, either this day, or this day, you're going to get shaken out and it's going to come back on you. So I waited for that. And that was the one name I got today, but I wouldn't be surprised. You got the NQ slowly, losing the 50-day in the after hours. Not anything too much. This could flip in the morning. But your Kospi, you did get a gap down here and it's pretty red. So that's interesting. This is just super ugly action. Are we going to come back and retest the highs from February? Who knows? Maybe it's possible. Are we going to build a higher low inside this line in the sand kind of bar, right? Your hammer candle reversal bar. Who knows? But either way, the Kospi, it's not my favorite, but it is super stretched to the downside. So I wouldn't be surprised to see like a multi-day, even like a week or two bounce here very soon. But for now, I'm avoiding it. It's too volatile. But like I said, I did take a stab at AMD. I do think this still looks fine, right? You are trying to still build a base, although it's been super choppy and volatile and really has been pretty ugly, in my opinion. People calling this like the best looking base of out of everything. You just know the environment shit. So I didn't mind the wash up today. Like I said, I think an inside day tomorrow will be super interesting. Make me feel comfortable, right? If we kind of get like maybe a little gap up or you just close green tomorrow, that would be super cool. You had a big range day today, so I wouldn't be surprised to see an inside day tomorrow. BB, I threw this on my list because it's still above its 20-day as well as its 50. So it's been holding up decently well. It's in a decent group, right? Software, you've seen a lot of software names act pretty nice. But I just don't see this action right here is just not my favorite. I don't see anything like, yeah, you're 3 days tight on the 20-day, but is it just getting ready to break down, right? Relative strength, is it going to become relative weakness? The weekly chart doesn't look too bad. But I don't know. I just need the action to firm up a little bit. I will watch the prior day high. I won't be taking it through that most likely, but a tight day tomorrow would be super interesting for this thing to push higher off the 20-day. But besides that, that's all I got really. And I will say before I go through this list, like it was very hard for me to find setups, anything good at least. And obviously prior traction has been terrible. So, no motivation to really even trade some of these names. But BBIO, right, biotech, it gapped up on the news of, I think, IONS failing the drug or whatever. You had a big gap up 15%, and it's kind of been consolidating. You flip to a weekly chart, it's right under a pretty big base. So it's just something I'm watching, right? Double inside day, really tight day today. So I will be watching above the prior day high, see if it can push. But this is the type of name where you wake up in the morning and it's down 50%. Like it's very possible, right? I could go back on this stock and it's probably happened before. Maybe not as bad as some of the other ones, but either way, just something I want to keep an eye on. Frog, right? Software group, super nice. It's building a flag, right? It's holding up super well. This is another one where it's like, I mean, I don't know if you'd want to take this one on a washout, but you see the washout in the morning, the big washout. Maybe this is something you could have grabbed, but I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if today was, I don't think any of these days are a good day to buy. I think you just continue to watch, sit on your hands and wait for a fat pitch. And I don't see a fat pitch anywhere and I haven't for a little bit. So Frog, not a bad flag. I think inside day tomorrow as well. Just continue consolidating here would be super nice. But, not a bad spot off the 20-day this morning. And then, I think a nice tight day tomorrow would be interesting inside this clear flag that is trying to build. So doesn't look too bad. It's, it just made a new all-time high, like last week. Early in the week, and it's kind of just squatting right under that. So pretty interesting chart and a nice group. Google, obviously your mags has been awesome. It's still in a base. It's below, a flattening 50. So a few more days of tightness, build out the right side. And I think it's super interesting. This group is so strong. I'm going to go over it at the end too. But not a bad looking chart. Obviously, like it almost looks identical to Amazon, which was awesome today. which I also want to go over, but I'm going to quickly go through my list for those that just come here for the watch this video. Hood, right? It's in the finance group. This or your financial stocks. These stocks have been monstrous, right? And hold on, I wrote all this down, so let me pull this up. Right, your JP Morgan, right? Hood, like I'm mentioning, GS, right? You get the earnings gap up, you get a fall through data. It's so strong. Like, I mean, just doesn't even care what's going on. Dave, absolutely awesome. Sezzle, another one where you get a new, I think, all-time high here. So super interesting. BAC, another one, just new high. And there's so many more. Bank of New York Mellon, I think, isn't it? Yeah, another big move in your financials. So, and then obviously you look at the XLF, obviously, new 52-week high today, I think. New all-time high, whatever. Looks pretty nice. So Hood fits that category as well as like a software application kind of name. And it's just building a flag, building sideways. Doesn't look too bad. I like the weekly chart. So continue building out here. It'll be super interesting. This is another one that actually I do think, if you watch the washout into whatever area you found, I mean, you look at the prior day high, maybe, you see the washout and then it pushes through the prior day high. Maybe that was a spot, but I still think it looks really good, and just continue building out the right side. It looks awesome. It's got like 3 inside days here. It's had that big down day from Friday. So super interesting. KYMR, another biotech kind of name. Double inside day. This is another one where I just probably would be too scared to take any reasonable size position on this, and no traction would mean probably 3 to 5%, 5% being the absolute most on a name like this, because I don't want to wake up to a 50% gap down on some random news. But not a bad double inside day. It's trying to build a flag out here. Nice. It's starting to get pretty tight. So definitely interesting. Marvell, debated putting this on the list, but I got to have one of the semis where you get an ugly close at a support level, and could we get a rally back through tomorrow? That's what I'll be watching for. Could be anything tomorrow, whether it's a gap up or just a push through the support gap. That's just an area I'm going to watch, but just keep an eye on it. It's got to be a rare occasion for something like that. MU, right? You just barely lost the 50. SanDisk is living below its 50, right? But it did have a nice washout today, right? Super nice washout right into that same pivot. You could even take the lows from Tuesday, came right into it, undercut it, rallied right back through, and then kind of continued higher the whole day. So, I mean, if you bought this one today, it's gapping down the after hours on the back of like your Korean stocks, but and all your memory stuff. But I mean, I don't know, Micron's been holding up a little bit better, so I think an inside day tomorrow, it could make it pretty easy for this name to get right back through the 50. So super interesting. The weekly chart, you're pulling back on falling volume. I don't know, there's just not a whole lot on this list that I'm really obsessed with, but MU, it's all right. Reddit, I like how it just continues to build out here, right? It definitely had a volatile day today, so just continue to let the volatility contract a little bit. And just let this thing continue trading sideways. The weekly chart, you got an inside week, it's not looking too bad, so continue building out. Looks pretty interesting here. TGTX, one of your pharmaceutical names. I think this is in the XBI, pretty sure it is. So your biotech related names, nice sideways and a nice higher low build off the 20 today. Maybe this was a name that was super nice today on a washout, right? You get the big washout, could have been nice here. Right off the 20 days. So super interesting. Inside day tomorrow will be interesting, but either way, you got an inside week. It's building out super nicely above the 10 and 20. It's in the right group. It moves 4% per day, over 100, practically $150 million average daily dollar volume. So it meets the criteria. It looks pretty nice. Want to continue keeping an eye on this name. It looks like it's trying to build a higher low. TNGX, I debated putting this on the list. Pretty choppy, but it is building a range. Looks like a flag for sure. Look at a weekly chart. Just looks like a very choppy, volatile flag, but I'd rather prefer TGTX over TNGX. But double inside day, interesting. Twist, another one that's more linear. Pull back to the 20. You're building a range here. A move over the prior day high is what I'll look for a breakout of the prior day high. Is you're building higher lows right off of it. Somewhat interesting, not my favorite chart again, but it's interesting. This group, as far as your genomics, right? I think Twist is a part of that genomics. GH looks pretty good. I own this one still, just sitting with it. It's acting awesome. You got 4 inside days, so it's an inside week. Still looks awesome. So this is another one that you could go after, and I probably could even add this position, right? Whichever way I'd want to, but it's building out in a really nice way. Like I said, if you stayed patient, maybe there was a few spots to grab some things, but does that really even matter? If relative strength is just going to get sold off and turn into relative weakness later, right? Like I talked about, hold on, rubric, like, you get relative strength and then it turns into relative. This is pretty nasty. Dell was another one where it's like, okay, maybe this is a name you could have taken on a washout, but at the same time, like, it barely bounced. Like, this is pretty disgusting action. And all day, this thing was pretty heavy, right? So super gross, right? Names that have been holding up really well are now starting to get smoked 10%, right? NTAP is another one. It's been holding up pretty well. Super gross. Pang, another one, been holding up really well. This volatility is pretty insane. ANET is the one I own, and man, this thing has been super volatile. So that's what you're just going to get in a chopping market. So it's best to just do nothing and sit on your hands. AMD, SanDisk, talked about AEHR, right? A name that had a gap up, maybe could be considered relative strength in the morning. A big gap up, super interesting on earnings, and it gets absolutely smoked right into a resistance gap, right? Crude oil was strong today. Some of the crude stocks taking a pause today, some continuing higher, like your Dino is just absolutely rocketing. Crude sitting right under a resistance gap and right under a declining 50. Will be super interesting how it acts in those. If it, to me, it looks like it's probably going to get over this area, or at least over Tuesday's highs. Nice inside day. If it just goes straight up, probably a short spot at the 50. But either way, definitely interesting to continue keeping an eye on it. QQQ, right? You held the gap from that Thursday gap up again today, like that pretty much marked the lows. So that was interesting, but you're practically below the 50. Like it's lagging the S&P 500 in a big way, and you can see it the best if you look at NQ, right? Losing the 50 right now, and your ES is just about to break out of a VCP base. So definitely super interesting. I don't trust the QQQ to break higher in any way until your SMH can act better. Like this needs to be like, yes, memories are important, but the SMH, man, like the QQQ looks identical to the SMH, right? They're just slightly different, but the SMH just looks, I don't know. You lost the 50 again today. Maybe could get it back easy with the gap up. I don't know if that's what we're even going to get, but the action here is just absolutely not my favorite. You're pretty much fighting with your 50-day. DRAM, you kind of came into support today from early June. You held support there. Nice, same big washout and then a bounce on everything, of course. But you're below the 50. You've been living below it now for 2 or 3 days. So who knows how long that'll last. The dollar, you get a breakdown below the 20-day. That's pretty nasty. I'm not gonna lie. I thought this thing was flagging out in a nice way. Looked pretty good, and then you broke down. But you're pulling right back to the base breakout that you had. So that'll be an interesting spot to watch if that will hold. Maybe we get a breakout in the market, dollar retest the base, and then dollar bottoms, and then the market kind of pulls back in. Who knows, right? I do want to talk about Amazon, right? The open equals low setup here was perfect. You get a nice base, right? And I've been talking about this one in the last few videos, right? Apple looks identical, right? You pull into the 200, you hold it, and you build like a bottoming base, and then you break out of it. Amazon, same exact thing, same concept, right? Pull into the 200, you hold it, you build a bottoming base, and you break out. But today, it's hard to buy stocks on a gap up, especially in a choppy market. You really shouldn't. But there's only one thing that I would do, or one tactic I would use as far as buying gap up, even in a shitty market, and that was today's action on the open equals low candle, and it was pretty perfect, right? Whether you're using a 1-minute opening range breakout or a 5-minute, super nice in the first minute of the day, right? You get the open equals low, which gives you such a super tight area to risk from, whether it's taking it in the first 5 minutes a day, risking 0.5%, and just super nice, right? And you're coming out of a base too, which is the important part, right? There's got to be a setup beforehand. I'm not just going out and buying every OEL, right? But HIM's another OEL, right? You're under a base double inside day, you gap up, and in the first 5 minutes, you get the OEL, right? But this one, the amount of ATR is up in a day, or up in the first 5 minutes or 1 minute, whatever you're looking for on the exact candle is very important. So, but either way, nice OEL, for example. These are good ones to go back and study. NVIDIA is trying to hold above the 50, right? Your Meta, kind of a 3-day flag and pushing higher out of that. The MAGs, obviously, another OEL type of name today, right off the open. Super big move and was strong the whole day. And even, the high equaled the close. This thing had a shaved top going into the close. Google building sideways, like I talked about. Definitely interesting. Going to continue keeping an eye on it. Tesla, your Trashla, looks like a toilet that you're about to flush the toilet and it's about to go down the drain. But you got earnings coming around the corner, so that'll be interesting, obviously. And then Apple, had a new all-time high breakout. Pretty interesting. XBI pulling back into the 20-day, not too bad, right? You can look at ALKS into the 20-day, doesn't look too bad. KYMR, this is on the list, not the worst. DFTX, right? This is a decent size holding. I don't know. I think they're all 1% in the XBI, but you're getting a huge gap in the after hours, breaking out of this nice little high tight flag. This was going to go on the list, but I mean, it's already gone. So definitely don't want to be chasing that, in my opinion. Well, but you'll have to see, I guess. Orca is another one building out above his 20-day as a pharmaceutical biotech name, and then Eli Lilly. We'll continue to keep an eye on this one. I don't know. ARKG related stuff looks not too bad. Twist obviously is on my list. Pulling to the 20, double inside day. Not too bad, right? Financials look okay. Some back burner names. Snow, you're like wedging higher, so not something I want on my list, not something I'll be trading, but you know, it's in the red group. It's been acting pretty okay. So an inside day today, interesting. VKTX, you did lose a 10-day, but 3 days tight. To me, it looks like it could be getting ready to push above that 10-day. Don't want to put too much in that, but it's in the right group. HPE has been holding up well, but today another one where it's like you get a bearish engulfing, lots of volatility, but you're still under a pivot. You're trying to build like a little mini cut base, and you're building out that handle or the right side. So continue doing that. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better. CRDO, you're still above the, or you just barely closed below the 50. But ALAB, I think, is the same thing, right? Where, you know, you're still just barely above the 50. You held the 50 on ALAB today, but these names have been acting good in the last like 3 months, but, you know, they're in a big pullback right now, and hopefully they'll get a bounce soon, just to continue to keep an eye on those. Moderna, you know, you pull into the 20, double inside day. Will it move up off that? I don't know. And then MIRM, another pharmaceutical biotech name, pull into the 20 inside day. Definitely interesting. Not seeing a ton of clean setups. Best is just stay extra patient. Use your time wisely, right? Study prior setups, review the leaders from this past cycle, whether it's Micron, ARM, Dell, Marvell, and many others, right? Review those, how you could have done better if you didn't own them, how you could have owned them. You know, identify just where you could have done better in this cycle, and how you could have executed some setups better, and certain things like that, right? But right now, for me personally, I'm focusing on keeping my position size small until these conditions improve, especially if you're trying to play like that balance after a washout, right? You want to keep your size as small as possible. But that's going to be it for me, and I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.